The reasons that could be behind Alcaraz's discomfort in his latest match. The Spaniard suffered cramps and physical discomfort. Carlos Alcaraz's latest match left some unusual images for one of the strongest figures on the tour, especially considering he is accustomed to playing in high temperatures. Vomiting, nausea and cramps interrupted his performance at times and raised alarms among both fans and specialists. However, far from pointing to a serious injury or pathology, everything indicates that the episode was the result of a combination of factors well known in high-performance sport, especially when extreme heat, maximum physical demand and a high mental load come together. Competing under very demanding conditions. The most likely cause of the cramps and general discomfort suffered by Alcaraz could be dehydration accompanied by an electrolyte imbalance. During a match played at great intensity and in hot conditions, the body loses large amounts of fluids and minerals through sweat. Sodium, potassium and other electrolytes are essential for muscle contraction and the transmission of nerve impulses, so their deficiency can trigger generalized cramps and a sudden feeling of exhaustion. When this loss is not adequately compensated, the problem is not limited to the muscles. The body enters a state of systemic stress that can affect the digestive system, causing nausea and even vomiting. In addition, during extreme exercise, blood flow is prioritized to the active muscles, temporarily reducing blood supply to the gastrointestinal tract. In Alcaraz's case, the rapid improvement after ingesting a specific drink to replenish fluids and salts reinforces this hypothesis. Proper rehydration helps restore internal balance, relieve cramps and reduce digestive symptoms, which is key to continuing to compete at such a demanding level. Beyond the physical component, which is essential to take into account, the mental factor cannot be ignored. A high-level match, with high expectations and great social and sporting pressure, represents an additional challenge for the body, even for athletes as well prepared as Carlos Alcaraz. Competitive stress activates hormonal responses that can directly influence the digestive system, increasing the sensation of nausea or abdominal discomfort. Nervous tension, especially in decisive matches, acts as an amplifier of any prior physical imbalance. Nutrition before and during the match also plays a relevant role. Inadequate intake, hard to digest foods or a poorly adjusted hydration strategy can favor the appearance of gastrointestinal problems in situations of extreme effort, which can, no pun intended, work against the athlete and their performance at specific moments of the competition. Zverev explodes at Alcaraz in the middle of the match. The semi-final duel at the Australian Open between Carlos Alcaraz and Alexander Zverev also had its moment of maximum tension. It occurred in the final part of the third set, when the Spaniard began to suffer cramps and requested medical assistance. The regulations do not allow a player to receive treatment from the physio for that reason, but Alcaraz claimed that his problems were muscular, which provoked the anger of Zverev, who did not hesitate to show his frustration, first with the chair umpire and then with the tournament referee. How do you let him be treated for cramps? This is bullshit. You're protecting these two guys all the time. He complained, clearly referring to what he considers preferential treatment for Alcaraz and Sinner. Sinner, according to him, benefited in his third-round match against Elliot Spitzeri when the heat rule was applied and the roof was closed at a moment when he was losing and beginning to suffer serious physical problems. The fact is that Alcaraz was treated and gradually improved until he fully recovered in the fifth set and produced an epic victory that allowed him to qualify for his first final in Australia. The two-time champion of Roland Garros, Wimbledon and the US Open will be playing his 8th Grand Slam final, with a precocity only comparable in his day to that of Rafa Nadal. And youth is at the heart of the challenge against either the reigning double champion, the Italian Jannik Sinner, or the historic holder of 10 titles, the Serbian Novak Djokovic. On Sunday, at 9:30, Alcaraz can become the youngest male tennis player to collect all 4 majors in his trophy cabinet, breaking a record that dates back to 1938, held by the American Don Budge, who was closer to 23 than the Mercian, who, with a 7th Grand Slam in his bag, would also break the professional era record of the Swede Bjorn Borg, who reached that figure at an older age. He has already taken the youth record from Jim Courier, in the professional era, for reaching all 4 Grand Slam finals. At the end of the match, the world number 1 spoke with complete honesty. We comment on his key statements, where he reveals how he experienced one of the most demanding matches of his career. Carlos Alcaraz summed it up clearly: how do you win this match? By believing. For him, the key was mental. By the middle of the third set he was already feeling very bad physically, but he knew he had to keep fighting. In his words, I knew what I had to do, put my heart into it. I fought until the last ball. That belief in himself was fundamental in turning the match around. He also showed gratitude toward the people in the stands. I wouldn't be here, in this interview, without the crowd. The Spaniard highlighted how the support gave him energy back in the toughest moments. He acknowledged that this connection with the fans was decisive, The way they encouraged me to come back into the match, every point, was incredible. When asked about everything he could achieve if he wins the final, he reacted with humor, "Thanks for putting more pressure on me," laughs. But he immediately refocused on what mattered. "I've fought a lot to have this opportunity. But I want to stay with what happened today." What he experienced in that match was already enough to feel proud. Regarding his level of play, he admitted that in the fifth set he felt better physically. He said, "In the fifth I felt better, at a pretty good physical level." He explained that tennis is decided by details, and in this match it came down to that. Fight, believe, wait for the opportunities and don't be afraid. That is how he defines his style. Another notable phrase was, "Tennis is sometimes very cruel, sometimes wonderful." That idea reflects how he understands the sport. You don't always win by playing better, but by enduring. And in that context, he remained firm, even when everything seemed lost. He knew how to wait for his moment and take advantage of it decisively. In summary, Alcaraz insisted that faith, mental work and attitude were the pillars of this victory. It was not just a matter of technique or tactics, but of character. His message is direct: no matter how bad you feel, if you believe in yourself and don't give up, things can change. One of the strongest phrases came when he admitted, "I don't even know how I did it." That honesty shows just how extreme the match was. He added that there were physical problems, but that he decided to face them with a positive mindset. He didn't focus on the pain, but on the opportunities. He also spoke about the work done before the tournament. Hard work always has its reward. He recalled the days when he didn't feel like training, but did it anyway. He highlighted that those moments of suffering are worth it, because they prepare you for situations like the one experienced against Zverev. He especially valued the mental aspect, "Very happy not only about today, but about all the days I've pushed myself to the limit, both physically and mentally." For Alcaraz, this victory does not begin or end with this match. It is the result of a demanding and constant routine. When asked about the final, he was clear, "Now we're going to try everything possible to be well, in full form or as good as we can." He didn't promise results, but he did promise effort. He said he will give everything. "We'll give our 150% in that final." He acknowledged that winning would mean a lot. It's been a preseason very focused on this goal. He is in his first Australian Open final, and although he does not hide his enthusiasm, he keeps his feet on the ground. He knows that now it's time to recover, not only physically, but also mentally. Finally, he made clear what this opportunity represents. It would mean a dream, and we're going for it. Carlos Alcaraz doesn't beat around the bush. He believes in effort, preparation and the ability to overcome pain. He shows it on the court and confirms it with his words. Carlos Alcaraz spoke clearly after one of the most demanding victories of his career. He firmly believes in the power of the mind, constant work and the support of the crowd. He doesn't hide behind excuses, he acknowledges the suffering and values every step of the journey. His message is direct: there are no miracles, there is conviction. And with that mentality, he is ready to play his first Australian Open final, with everything that represents. The Serbian approached the Mercian player and the rest of his team to congratulate him on his victory over Zverev, which qualifies him for the first final in Melbourne of his career. A recognition between champions took place in the corridors of Rod Laver Arena between Carlos Alcaraz and Novak Djokovic after the agonizing victory by the Mercian in a very hard-fought match, the third longest in the history of the Australian Open, against his rival Alexander Zverev. The Serbian came over to congratulate the world number one on reaching his first final in Melbourne, while he was recovering from the grueling duel on a stationary bike. Noel greeted the entire team of the first finalist and stopped for a few seconds, just before his own semi-final match. It will be against Jannik Sinner, who is looking to defend his Australian title for the third consecutive year, a feat that only his opponent today has achieved. The King of Melbourne arrived showing a high level of tennis and fully recharged, after the withdrawals of his last two opponents. From that match will emerge the second finalist who will face Alcaraz on Sunday for the first Grand Slam of the season. The match could mean Carlos's entry into the Tennis Hall of Fame, as if he wins, he would become the youngest player in history to be crowned in all four majors. A congratulation from the king of the tournament to the Mercian, aware of the greatness of the 22-year-old tennis player.